What makes the OM system OM-3 so special to me is that this camera inspires me to take photographs, to just go out there, explore the world and explore creative possibilities. While on paper it is just another camera, if you own this camera and you use it, you'll notice immediately what I mean. This is an inspiring tool with many creative options built in. And to be honest, today is such a day. I'm inspired to create, to go out there and just explore the possibilities of this camera. But before I do that, I'm gonna finish my morning coffee because it's pretty cold out there, and yeah, a little something to warm me up before I go. Well, that's a good idea, right? I'm Thomas Eisl, a professional photographer and visual artist from Vienna, Austria. I finished my cup of coffee. I'm ready to go. In fact, I can't wait to get started because I really like to photograph and create with the OM system OM-3. It is just a very special camera. And one thing that makes this camera special is not just its photographic and videographic prowess, it is also its design. And unfortunately, I cannot show the design to the world at this point, at least not in public, because when I record this video, the OM system OM-3, it hasn't been released yet. So that's why I had to tape everything up, and that is really important because the OM system OM-3 is a camera that attracts a lot of attention. Its classic, I'd say timeless design is a very interesting mix between old and new design elements. It's just a gorgeous camera, and yeah, it gets a lot of attention in public spaces. So that is of course a necessary precaution to not spoil this camera before its official release date, which is, when you watch this video, of course already in the past. Now without further ado, I'd say it's time to get started. Before I capture the first photograph of today, let's talk a little bit about the two big L in photography, right? That's location and lens. Well, location, I'm not in Vienna, as you already saw. I'm here in Baden by Wien. Baden by Wien is a small town, right next to Vienna, and has a rich history to offer, reaching back to the emperor's times. And you can also see that in the buildings, also in the beautiful park. That's actually where I'm heading today, because I think there might be interesting subjects there. Also, the mood might be perfect for some photography in the park, because as you noticed, it's quite overcast today, so no interesting light and shadow stuff going on, and therefore I have to focus on the mood. And well, the mood is autumnish, I'd say, and yeah, so the park it is. Now on to the next big L, and that's lens. Today I'm working with one lens on my OM system OM-3 only, and that's the M-Suico 20mm f1.4 Pro. I'd say it is a perfect match for the OM-3. It is not too big, also it is not too small, and the center of gravity is actually, well, very favorable. It's somewhere in the middle, and it's really a great combination to use. Also, I decided to only go for one lens today. Usually when doing these trips, I go for two lenses, you know, a wide angle and a telephoto, or a wide angle and something like a 25mm. But today I decided to go just with one lens, because I think it can be beneficial to focus just on one perspective only, and instead explore the creative possibilities that the camera is able to offer. So enough talk, people are already gathering around me, so I'd say it's time to get to work. Look at that. That's a statue of a photographer taking a portrait. What a coincidence. Yeah, I'd say that's an OM system camera. When it comes to photography, especially color photography, of course, color is crucial. The way the color profiles were implemented in the OM system OM-3 is incredibly clever and sophisticated. To access the color profiles, I turn the creative dial one click to the right. But before proceeding with the setup, I'm gonna look at my surroundings. And I think that today is the perfect day to create a very somber mood. In order to do that, I'd like to bring down all the blues and emphasize orangey colors. There are not many of those, but the trees without leaves really benefit from that, and also the overall mood. So that's how I'm gonna adjust my color profile right now. Oh wow, that looks really nice. I'm gonna get the shot at f1.4 utilizing the beautiful bokeh of the 20mm f1.4. Amazing. So before I get too carried away, I'm gonna capture a few more frames off camera. Then let me state a few things. After creating this custom color profile in the OM-3, I suddenly started to see the park, the plants, everything around me in a completely different way. And this really surprised me, because usually I'm photographing people, I'm photographing street scenes, and suddenly I started seeing certain things around me which I did not see before. And that's really the beauty of having a camera that can do it all. First and foremost, it inspires me in terms of color rendition, but second, it also doesn't really get in the way. I can just capture whatever I want, especially with the fantastic Hemsuiko 20mm f1.4. Sorry for the light changes, the sun is coming out, and I will of course utilize that to see how my new custom profile behaves under different lighting conditions. So, see you in a second. I've got to capture a few things. When working these shots with this specific color profile, I immediately got this dreamy vibe. And I think, even though the f1.4 aperture is already creating this dreamy bokeh, we can still enhance this effect by introducing something very simple. In this case, a K&F concept handheld kaleidoscope filter. This is basically a half kaleidoscope filter that you can hold in your hand and just put in front of the lens. And by doing it the right way, you can get amazingly dreamy effects. And that's what I'm gonna do right now. So isn't that a beautiful lens flare over there? Well, it's not about the lens flare right now, but I'm going to show you how to use this handheld kaleidoscope filter to get an even more interesting look. It's actually pretty easy. So I'm using, of course, the OM-3 with the image stabilizer turned on. And first I'm going to frame up the shot. This is a nice macro subject over there. That's perfect. Going to adjust the exposure settings. And now I'm just going to bring in this handheld kaleidoscope filter. I simply hold it in front of the lens and I try different variations. So I can bring it in very close. I can also tilt it a little bit to introduce more reflections. And one important thing is always capture more photos when working with such a filter, because of course it's extra hard for the camera's autofocus system to get the focus right. So it is quite possible that you miss the perfect critical focus from time to time, so just get more shots. What I'd also like to emphasize is that even though this is just a half kaleidoscope filter, you can utilize that to cover basically the whole image area. Alternatively, you can hold the filter halfway, and due to this flat surface on top, you can get a more or less looks like a light leak, like a streak of light on top of the frame or on the bottom of the frame, depending on the orientation. Yeah, really love playing around with stuff like that. And and I'd also like to highlight that this is of course not possible with every camera, because you need top-notch image stabilization, but with the OM-3 that's not an issue, and I can perfectly get close-up shots handheld, well, even by holding the camera just in one hand and rotating the filter in the other hand. So that's pretty amazing. Whoop, just landed my rear end on a wet bench, but an OM system photographer is always prepared. Look at that. Ta-da! Much better. Unfortunately, the light keeps changing rapidly. While one might think that you can counteract that by simply changing the white balance, that is not completely true, because unfortunately, as the temperature of the incoming light and the quality changes, of course, the appearance of the subjects changes as well. And even if you try following up with the white balance, you won't be able to get the exact same look. Be that as it may, I think this is the perfect opportunity to switch to black and white photography, because of course you might be able to notice the size of our light source, the sun, but you won't be able to notice any color shifts, at least if done properly. But I'd say it'd be rather boring to just photograph in black and white. Instead, I'm going to utilize the monochrome picture profiles of the OM system OM-3 to capture some cinematic footage. I'm trying to stick to the same theme, so I'll just explore around and look for interesting bits and pieces around here. Fortunately, there is also a bit of wind, so some movement, which is always good for movies, right? And apart from that, I'm not going to utilize the OM-3 handheld. Even though I could do that, I'm going to put it on a gimbal. The gimbal I brought today is the Zhiyun Cinepeer Weebill 3E. That's actually the gimbal that I use the most these days. It's a compact yet high performance, and it just grants me more flexibility, and well, it's just easier to work with a gimbal than trying to get everything handheld, even though the image stabilizer is quite good, but nothing can beat the gimbal, and so that's a nice accessory. The only thing I have to do right now is balance my camera lens combination, which is, well, very easy, and then I can get started. Stay tuned, I've developed a very special monochrome profile for this shoot. A gimbal is truly an underrated accessory for any camera. Not only can you utilize it for videography, but for photography as well. More on that in future videos. What I'd like to recommend though is when using a camera like the OM-3 on a gimbal, you should disable the camera's image stabilization system, or at least reduce its sensitivity. For OM system cameras, I recommend setting the image stabilizer sensitivity to -1. The OM system OM-3 is indeed an incredible creative tool. I hope I was able to inspire you to go out with your camera and try a creative day out like I did today. Sometimes it's okay to go out without a specific project in mind and just discover the world around you and make up a project as you go. Currently, the OM-3 is definitely the camera I use the most, which is why I'm sharing a lot of videos on this camera, starting with my in-depth review and of course technical tutorials and inspirational videos like the one you watched today. Go subscribe to my channel and watch those videos if you are interested. Also, keep in mind that this channel is community funded. I rely on your support and the support of channel members to produce high quality content for you. I therefore encourage you to consider becoming a channel member or supporting my work via one of the links down below. I very much appreciate that, and I hope you enjoyed watching. See you next time.